speaking of Tesla. Now, you may be reminded of the electric car manufacturer, of billionaire Elon Musk, Tesla Inc. Did you know that his company name is named after his idol, Nikola Tesla, as a tribute and thanks to the electric hero, the creator of the electricity we use today? This book is about the background and discovery of Nikola Tesla. His discoveries made the world brighter and more visible day and night, making life and work easier for people. Imagine if our lives were without electricity. How difficult would our lives be? During Tesla's lifetime, he invented no less than 100 batons of new technology. Before Tesla developed AC power, the transmission from one terminal to another was limited, with DC power being used only to charge small devices such as flashlights and other electronic devices. Since Tesla's invention of AC power, electricity has played a vital role in industrial use, boosting global growth in just a few years. Not only that, the original idea of making radio, television, and mobile phones also involved his discovery. Many technical product makers also follow this scholar. Remember, the first principle that Elon Musk uses also follows the plot of the Tesla thinking. Therefore, it is not surprising that he took the name of this scholar after his company. But Tesla's life story is also unique. It can be said that he used to stand in the most glorious place with an amazing reputation and also fell to the bottom. In the last 30 years of his life, he did not find anything as prominent as before, and because of his high research costs, he was frequently sued. I owe them money, too. What kind of person is this founder and top scholar capable of discovering these things, and what mistakes did he make in his life to eventually fall into this trap? There are a lot of Tesla books on the market, but most of them are about his personality or writing a good story. But this one is the most special because it talks about his research from start to finish and tells us what background this person had, why the first half of his life was so successful, and why the last half of his life was so bad. Let us get to know the author of this book a bit. Bernard Carlson is a professor of science and technology at the College of Engineering and a professor of history and society at the University of Virginia. It can be said that he has two skills, technology and sociology. That is why this book he wrote is so popular, because he analyzed us from the technical point of view of Tesla's discoveries and also analyzed the social issues of the time to tell us what the discovery was. One or a great creative idea of the era must adapt to society in order to turn that idea into a workable result in the market. In this commentary, I will break down the main content into 3 different sections. Part 1. What are Tesla's unique ideals? What special methods did he have with which he was able to create something that transcends such an era? Second, how can Tesla turn a discovery into a product? And thirdly, what made Tesla successful? Why did he end up failing? The first part, let's look at the first part together. What is the unique ideal behind his discovery? In English, it is called idealism, something that Tesla has created that is unique in all eras. This method refers to a way of thinking in which the imagination in the brain is constantly replaced by new ideas. You would probably ask, just think of something great to do to be successful. Most discoveries are likely to go through trial and error, right? Just as Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, it took more than 1,600 failures to find the perfect material to make a light bulb that would last for hours. Experimenting to find the right way to do this, Tesla does not catch the eye. He thinks that doing so is too young and ineffective, and that it is not easy to find something new. He experimented in his brain until he came up with a great idea, and then he took it out of his brain and put it into practice. If he does not come up with something out of the ordinary, then they have to rethink their position. It can be said that everyone experiments in the laboratory, while Tesla experiments in his brain. This kind of thinking seems unbelievable. Let's come and reason a little bit about why this Wonder Man could do this. We take the discovery of the AC power he found. We already know that there are two types of lights, DC and AC, also known as incandescent and alternating current. The generator that generates electricity for us to use today is AC power, but because at that time it was thought that DC power was more stable, they converted AC power to DC power for use. At that time, they did not see the benefits of AC power, but the problem is that once the DC generator starts operating, it generates sparks that are less safe. Where there is a problem, there must be a solution. So many researchers at the time figured out how to reduce sparks and make the process of generating electricity safer. But Tesla, unlike others, analyzes the principle of motor operation from the beginning, analyzes the root cause of this spark, and eliminates it. How does this machine work? Tesla also started to charge the electric current into the motor and back out of it, going through what? Simply put, sparks occur when converting AC power to DC power. If you do not convert to raw AC power, the spark problem will be gone. In line with this new concept, Tesla is starting to figure out how to create a fire that can be used immediately without having to go through conversion. It was then that the idea of changing the world emerged. The electric motor that could be pulled into a house. In fact, this kind of thinking was later called the first principle or First principle. In The World's Raddest Man, Wait But Why, Elon Musk mentions this principle. Elon Musk thinks that no matter what you do, if you want to solve a problem completely, you have to go through the analysis from the beginning. Compared to them, they can only correct their problems a little bit. If they want to change the world, they cannot follow in their footsteps. So Tesla started researching and creating the world's first electric motor for people to know. Now he has a good idea. How to start and how to get this idea to experiment in his brain. He began to think, if there was an alternating current, how should it work? He later thought that if there was an electric shock, electricity could be converted into mechanical energy, and mechanical energy could be converted into electrical energy. When he started thinking about this, he imagined it as a huge power plant, and all the equipment that could be needed to do this came to mind. You must be wondering, ordinary people cannot do that, of course, but this is Tesla, and we recognize that he is a wonder from birth. As a child, he had already mastered this ability, the ability to imagine the impossible. One of the unique features of idealism is that it works fast and costs less, because it is only a fantasy to use only pens and paper, no matter the time, location, or material in the imagination. It can change immediately, so experimentation and adjustment are very fast. On the other hand, it does not have to be spent on the purchase or rental of actual equipment, a factory, or a place. No, so you can think deeply and focus only on research and design without worrying about external distractions or limited resources. But do not think that it is not easy at all. Just this fantasy, open teeth. Tesla took 5 full years to fully imagine. These are the first important points we talked about why Tesla could have such a great innovation, the electricity we use today. The answer is that he uses an ideal principle called idealism. Tesla has the ability to think and imagine differently from ordinary people. He can experiment in the brain, experience a good and possible idea, and then take it outside. And when he sculpts this idea on a piece of paper and walks into the lab, it is as if he already has a map in hand. Following such directions makes it easier to reach the goal and saves more time, resources, and money. The second part is that if you want to make a successful innovation, just imagining is not enough. Recently, we have said that the era was DC power, and later they wanted to make it a common AC power. How did Tesla turn his discovery into a usable product? The answer is in this second section. A discovery and a product are very different. The big difference is whether the discovery is useful or not. Is it needed? Only then can people or investors invest in making it into a product like this that can change the world. The case of Tesla's discovery could be written in the history books and was one of the discoveries that pushed the world into a new industrial revolution because it met the social needs of the time, making it cheaper and easy to forward. In those days, the demand for electricity was increasing, but at that time, DC electricity was too expensive, and people were hoping that everyone would have access to cheap electricity. If the electricity is cheaper, people living in remote areas can also use it, and the use of electricity in factories and companies is cheaper, making work more efficient. So, why was DC power so expensive at the time? The reason is that the difficulty of forwarding shows that a power station can only meet the demand for electricity in the surrounding area, and the construction of a power station costs a lot of money, so it has to be sold at a high price. Only then can the operation be balanced. As for AC power, it is easy to transmit electricity, and the least power loss can be transmitted to remote areas, so those far away can also use electricity. Only a large power station can transmit electricity to the end area. The mouth can also move. The price of electricity is cheaper accordingly. If AC power has been around for a long time, why is it so widely used now? In fact, in the past, AC power was only available to the market if it met three conditions: production, transmission, and consumption. Of the three conditions, production is possible and relaying is possible, but the use is not yet widespread. With the advent of Tesla, the use of electricity began to widen. If Tesla was born a few years ago, it would not have been this opportunity. In comparison, it would have been like Steve Jobs making the iPhone in the days without the internet. If the infrastructure conditions are not favorable, no matter how great the innovation, it is useless. So when Tesla can create AC power, how can the market recognize it? In the words of the author, Tesla needs to create a supernatural force. This was an effective form of marketing in those days. He needs to let the world know that he can make this really unusual. He needs to attract investors because an innovation without capital and financial support is impossible. After Tesla discovers the rules for building all these electrical systems, there is only one step left. The world can shine day and night, and that one step will take a lot of money to do. But an innovation that only has ideas and fantasies to get people to take money out of their pockets is too difficult. And how do you attract investment to this project? Is to create a miracle. Take what is in his brain and reveal it to them. At that time, people do not understand what is too complicated, especially for what has never been before. It is like lying or talking. They do not understand, do not listen. Likewise, when Tesla talks about the principles by which these power systems operate and their enormous benefits to humanity in the future, those investors nod their heads in disbelief. When he was told that he was planning to use an electric shock to generate alternating current, he was even more confused. So Tesla came up with the idea of creating a Columbus egg. What is a Columbus egg? We must have heard of Christopher Columbus, the discoverer of the Americas in 1492. He sailed from Spain by boat on a long waterway and discovered the new continent. He needed some valuables to explore the new continent, so after he returned to Spain, he needed to find an investor. At a dinner in the Palace of Spain, Christopher Columbus made the proposal to the Queen of Spain in front of the officials, but after he raised it, the officials laughed and said that the Americas originally existed. Already there. You are just lucky to touch it. There is something amazing, and this money does not know what to do. Christopher Columbus did not respond. He just took out an egg and asked everyone if there was a way you could make it stand up straight. At that time, no one remembered, but Christopher Columbus did something that could make each egg stand upright. He knocked the egg to break the head a little and put it vertically through this story. He wants to tell everyone. Everyone knows that knocking it apart can stand it, but people cannot think of a new way if they think only of the old mindset. Queen Isabella, who saw the full action at the time, was pleased and gave gold, diamonds, and jewels to Christopher Columbus' fleet to continue her exploration. Tesla's presentation to investors was so similar to the event that it was nicknamed the Tesla's Egg of Columbus. But the way he spoke to investors was even more special. He says he will let the egg stand upright without touching it. If I could, would you agree to invest with me? His investor is also very funny. He said, I do not have gold, diamonds, or pearls like Princess Isabella, but in my dear leather bag, I left a few coins to support. After receiving a signal of interest, Tesla began to take an egg, smear it with copper, and place it on a table under a rotating shock absorber with a north-south pole. As the shock spins faster, the egg spins faster until the investor stands up and is surprised to hear that it has never been seen before. It's like magic. Soon, with the support of two investors, Tesla began to do the next thing, building its own reputation. In the past, Tesla was just a simple technician from the countryside, names across the United States. What did his team do for him? First, make sure that those in the power sector as a whole recognize him as an expert in the field, and let Tesla share his knowledge and innovations until a press conference is held to publicize this discovery. Let everyone know. People all over the United States soon heard about this. In less than a month, Tesla, an ordinary child, became a well-known electrical engineer with more fans than any movie star. It is very easy because people trust the experts, and this Tesla does its best. Many large companies have seen the achievements and talents of Tesla. Later, Westhouse Electric Corporation, a well-known U.S. electrical equipment manufacturer, bought a Tesla baton for a hefty price. Years later, Westhouse was awarded a contract to build a hydropower project on Niagara Falls, which would not only supply electricity to the city, but to the whole of New York State. The project was a huge success, and it also proved that Tesla's discovery of this alternating current generator system had truly contributed to the astonishing progress of the world. This is the second part where we talk about how Tesla turned a breakthrough into a product. That is something that has market demand and can be advertised to consumers in a timely manner. The ability to imagine and attract customers and investors is an indispensable skill for every entrepreneur and founder. The third part talks about the prosperity of Tesla in the first half of his life. But we wonder what caused Tesla to fall to the bottom. Why do good things not last long? Was it from Tesla personal factors or social factors at the time? Next, we come to the part where we talk about the middle ground. Remember the idealism we called Tesla's idealism that we mentioned earlier? This made Tesla a huge success, and also the reason why he failed. We know that the benefit of such thinking is that it allows him to imagine and experiment in his brain, whether it happens or not, without having to spend time and money on experiments that waste time. In his next research, he wanted to transmit electricity remotely between two objects, but he failed when he tried to put his imagination into action. Wanting to do this was too difficult, and the experiment was later renamed Witricity. The system is very complex, and the elements that Tesla brings together are never on the market. Tesla is a person who wants perfection and is full of imagination, imagining beyond reality. So when he puts his imagination into practice, it makes it impossible for him to be without face. Of course, when he first created the AC power system, it was a complicated process, but luckily, he met these two investors who could help guide him by asking him to package it as a new product, sell for money. So when he is a technical founder who is obsessed with unique innovations, he really needs another co-founder who can take him back to the real world and not let him be in too much of an impossible fantasy. Just like he could make a transmitter and then make a receiver so that he could communicate with each other, push that product to market for money, and then put it together. Doing so will not only earn money and repay investors, but also make their dreams come true. Sadly, the man who carried his hand through that glory lost his life before he made his second project. In the last half of his life, his imagination didn't work for him. And since then, he has never produced anything. And he has told the media that he will make a discovery, a new one that can change the lives of people in the world. Sadly, he did not succeed, and investors who used to believe him withdrew when he could not keep his promise. People who used to be near him when he was glorious left him. The money was spent, debts were owed, and even the antenna he bought was tested by creditors to sell scrap to pay off debts. Highlights from Tesla, the inventor of the electrical age, by Professor Bernard Carlson. Please give a brief reminder. We first talk about a special kind of imaginative thinking that we call idealism, that allows us to imagine and experiment in the brain without having to consider any lack of resources. We then highlight the ability that Tesla can make a breakthrough into a product they need in the marketplace, attract investors, and market themselves to their customers. Finally, we came to know the reason why he failed. The internal factor is that he imagines far beyond reality, and the external factor is that society does not value that time is not the right time for him to do this. Thank you for listening. Congratulations, you have finished another book. Bog.